woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We are strongest when we cheer each other, right? With this thought, I am Runal Ahire, coordinator of the Diva team, delivering a warm welcome to all of you present over here on behalf of the entire Diva team. Today's our spokesperson, respected Ridhima Arora ma'am, Muskan Mulani, head of the Diva Club, assistant secretary, function executive secretary, all Diva team, and everybody present over here. Very good evening. On occasion of Women's Day, Diva Club celebrating a special 1 week with enthusiast events like a webinar, workshop, and the competition known as the Express to Empower. So today, we all are gathered here for our third event of this week, that is Leaders in Conversation. Firstly, let me introduce our club. Diva Club efficiently works for overall development of women of all age groups and spread awareness related to the health, the self-defense, and many more things. We had taken different events like Walkthrough Tech, where we had a interview of a mentors related to the internship, the hackathons. Our next event was webinar on the breast cancer awareness with Dr. Pranjali Gadge, and then Jagruti event, which was the mega event, covered all the domains like self-defense, startups and businesses, organ donation, and many more. These all events are of this academic year. And now, in this Women's Day Special Week celebration, today it's our immense pleasure to have conversation with our leaders. We are really fortunate to have Ridhima Arora with us. I welcome you, Ridhima ma'am, from the bottom of my heart. Let me introduce her. Ridhima ma'am is the young lady founder of a Namhya Food. She did her MBA from Great Lake Institute of Management and then worked as a project trainee at Tramco System. She was a senior marketing manager at Lava International Limited as well as the Autonet International. And then she started her own startup called Namhya Foods. She believes that in this world of preservatives and the fast food, she is trying to rebuild that natural ways of eating with the goodness and the Indian herbs and all the natural ingredients. They may be superfood, but today, but our grandmas and grandpas were grew up with those food, right? So Namya is an effort to bring back all those golden heritage of long forgotten basic Indian foods that blends with your today's lifestyle, right? And with this concept, she also went to Shark Tank as well. Also, ma'am believes a lot in spiritual lives as well. She did a 200 hours teaching training program with Yoga Alliance. She is a great speaker as she spoke in TEDx, Josh Talks, and many more such a things. So yeah, we are really so grateful to have Ridhima ma'am today with us. Without any delay, let's get started. Hello ma'am, good evening.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. I,
Yeah,
I'm
I hope you are doing well at
you
your
sort of
end.
deserve. Thank you.
Yes. So should we start with the conversation, ma'am?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so just the first question I would like to ask that, as I mentioned at the start, that every woman's success should be, inspiration to another. So likewise, you are the inspiration of to the all teen girls, and as well as for those women who want to do something like any business or any startup. So could you tell us about your journey that you started from corporate life and then started your own business, that is Namya Foods? So just elaborate this journey with our audience.
So I was a very bright kid while growing up. And in India, bright is usually a connotation of the marks that you get in class and not the kind of intellect
Right.
that you have. So I'm not sure about my intellect, but yes, I was bright kid from the perspective that I got good marks in every class. Um, but I think, and I was told that there's a such set caricature of um, how you would become successful. So we felt that just because we are getting good marks, just because we are a certain way, we will be really successful in life. And then I think life hits you in some way. And that happened to me also. I worked in a brand management job. I was doing pretty well in the work that I was doing. uh, and I did it for about 5 years just to understand that it's not really important to earn a certain amount of money. It's not even really important to work at a certain organization or work at a certain position. it's more important to address your actual creative self, and what is it that really makes your creative self come out and present itself in the best format. I actually still think that I'm not like a typical entrepreneur. I'm somebody who's very passionate, very emotional, driven, and I would still do things that make sense to me and is not making sense from an entrepreneurial perspective. And I still believe that, I'm doing this because I really like the whole idea of um, giving good food to the people, bringing out that kind of awareness to the people that, आप ये खाओगे तो आप ये ठीक हो जाओगे, and you will not have to end up in a hospital. So um, I don't know what happened to me. I just went into that zone where I was like, I understand this well now. I come from a background where so many people have been healed because of, having so and so Ayurvedic herbs. And I have to sort of do this. I was young when I started off. I said, I don't have any EMIs on my head. I am young. I don't have any obligations. And I usually think that it's one small life and one should experiment and do things that they want to do. And with just that thought, I started, honestly, it wasn't like a very big thought process. And because things started working out in small ways, I started putting effort towards it, got a lot of hard work behind it. Sometimes it was a failure, sometimes there were a lot of misses, sometimes I only didn't understand what was happening. So it was a mix of everything that happened, but I think ultimately, um, I still feel, I think we've just begun. There's so much that we have to do, and I'm still learning with every day the processes of how it needs to be done. But I think nobody will have is what I feel. Nobody will have a straight answer of how it happened. You have to sometimes just, go for it and believe it, and not necessarily that everybody will, get it one fine day like I did. Somebody might have to try 10 more things to sort of know what they want to do, or sometimes, it just doesn't happen. And probably at the age of 50, you find out that, okay, because I did this, and this led me to do this, and probably this is what my calling of life is. So I think it's different for different people. And I'm not sure what exactly it is for me right now or probably in the future. But having said that, I really enjoy what I do. I had to become an entrepreneur because there was no other existing company that was doing the kind of stuff that I wanted to do. So I had to start a business. It was more like a requirement or the urge that came from the fact that I really wanted to do it. So I think it's different journeys for different people, but mine was like this.
Yeah, right. I mean, basically, finding out your interest is more important than working any at a particular corporate company or something like that,
Is
right?
what I feel. You will also
Mhm.
meet a lot of people who will tell you otherwise, and they'll say passion and, what you love is a theoretical concept, and it's not something. You'll meet different people, and they'll have different views of life, and none of them is wrong. It's like what suits you.
Yeah, perfectly. Means if we have to working in particular thing for throughout our life, then it should be interested. If you are getting bored and still you want to do a corporate job, then it will be really hectic, and obviously it will lead to the overall sadness in our life.
uh,
So yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think so.
So yes, so as you mentioned that there wasn't any special reason behind starting this startup, but why you give the name Namya? What is the reason behind that? Can you
um
elaborate?
Yeah, so I think I also mentioned it on the episode when it was aired. The only reason was that, actually I had 3 4 names in my head, but a lot of developments that were happening in my life back then, which is like 2018 19, was happening just because I had gone into Buddhism, and a lot of things open up in your head in the way you think once you get into certain practices. It might not come to everybody, but it just came to me. So I felt that the whole origin of Namya Foods was because, I was seeking a purpose through my spiritual self. and I chant this this thing called Namhya for 𝐸𝐴𝐤, which is a nature in Buddhism, and because that had sort of made a premise to a lot of things that I was doing that time, and this sort of came out of it. So from Namhya, I kept Namhya. Although a lot of people confuse my name with it, but it's not my name. It's from Namhya.
Okay, that's really great. And also means putting a name for a certain brand also create an impact when it comes out in the market for selling, right? So what do you think? Is it creating good impact in your product or in your services?
I think, I genuinely believe in the fact that what's in the name. I think it's a lot of emotion, it's a lot of brand effort that you have to put behind any name. For that matter, once it goes out in the market, um, and I think it's the kind of work that it takes. It has, of course, a lot of attachment to me, um, because that's how and why I kept it, and it's very close to me. But I think ultimately you can give it any name, but it's more about the kind of product that you're doing, the kind of service that you're doing, the kind of are the customers happy by what you're doing. I think it's more a function of that than any name.
Right, and it will basically takes a lot efforts to make that particular name as a brand, and you did
Absolutely.
so, and you take lots of efforts for that as well. So, just respect to that, I want to ask one more thing that many young leaders are participating in Shark Tank right now. So, could you like to, share your experience with us that how you feel when you were in front of all those sharks and they were like asking you these questions and those how you means how the way you tackle those things.
And no, I think I had a very very amazing experience. I think the creative energy of the whole studio, of the whole set was so nice, so high. Usually you end up meeting so many negative people. There are negative energies out here कि नहीं ये नहीं होगा वैसे नहीं हो सकता ये तो गलत हो रहा है like that and when I went there it was a lot of good energy. People were trying a small big good bad successful unsuccessful, but everybody was trying to make something new. They were trying to create something new with a very positive vibration. So I think overall the creative energies were really nice. And coming to the question of how's experience was all the questions, I think um, like when you try and tell somebody what you're trying to do, and when you're trying to get somebody's money invested in your company, right? If I were them, maybe I would ask more questions because I have less experience, right? So I think all the questions were extremely genuine. It was a very very professional and business kind of talk. I didn't feel anything uncomfortable during the whole time. Of course, if somebody had doubts on can Ayurveda work, can Ayurveda not work, so these are things that the general audience also asks. So we do end up replying to them too. There are a lot of apprehensions before anybody starts your product or starts using your product. So we are used to sort of resolving our customers queries, the kind of stuff people ask. We are very used to answering all those questions, and I think all the questions that the sharks asked were very genuine and from their own contextual understanding of the subject of the category. And that's completely fine. I think we've been doing it day in day out for the last 3 years. We understand it very well now. We've seen results on people, even before the company started. My grandfather was into it for a very long time, so we know it. We've been doing it for a very long time, and the kind of questions that came were completely understandable actually.
Yeah, right. If you wanna buy something, you ask so many questions to that shopkeeper. So likewise, basically they are investing a big amount in your product or in your company. So that things may happen, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, expressing your idea or your, your job in front of some, high demanded people. So it is really means.
Like I started, honestly, I
Mhm,
started my journey from questioning Ayurveda myself.
mhm.
to now when I, earn from here, I live it myself. I practice Ayurveda in my own personal life also. So the journey has been long, and the journey started from apprehensions. So I can understand from where the questions come from. So for me, it's okay, because I also sort of started from there. To be able to come to where I am right now.
Yeah, right. And basically, Ayurveda having really great potential to, solve all the diseases which are present over the world.
Right.
But still, many of the people ignore this Ayurveda's power and they just go towards any other methods of getting result from that disease. But I also prefer Ayurveda a lot, and basically, it having a touch of the spirituality. So I also found that you have a great interest in spirituality that you basically gives the name that indicates itself. So what do you think about the meditation, which basically nowadays our life is getting too much hectic, and get solve these all those stresses in your life is really very hard. So at that time, this meditation and all those spiritual things get read from that. So what do you think about the meditation practice?
Um, I've been doing it for the last 5 years now. Um,
Hmm.
I have been inconsistent in between. I am still learning better ways of doing it. Um, I'm still, figuring out that what's the right way. I think it's a journey. There is no one answer to it. I have seen, of course, a lot of benefits of it. I've also, seen the way I now deal with hard situations of life. Um, so definitely, I think it should be a means to living life, and not a practice or a ritual that you do early morning for 10 minutes and move out of it. It takes time to come there, to understand that it's not how it gets introduced to us, which is to say कि आप चुप रहो 10 minute 15 minute whatever, and try to focus. It doesn't work like that. But I think we have a long way before we start understanding those things as a society. I think it's a denomination of the overall incremental consciousness of the society, which will take time. I mean, we are still very low on the Maslow's hierarchy of, basically the basic issues of food, shelter, and the basic things are not basically getting met. um, but yeah, I think to a new generation who thinks it's very boring, it's very not so cool, you should try and explore it, and try and explore it with the right guru, with the right people who introduced you to the practice, and not the preconceived notion it's for people who are boring, it's for people who want to be silent. Why do we have to be silent for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever? So I think the whole institute of coaching everybody that it's the way of life. Um, I think that will take time. I don't think it's coming too soon. But yeah, I mean, if you have inclination, you take it from me. It will change your life.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, doing meditation is not like that. If you are a silent person, then you go with meditation. If you want to calm your mind or get a presence of mind, or you have to something handle such a situations, then meditation is really great practice. I also do regularly, and it basically creates a lot more impact on my life as well, because at many of the time we are really unable to solve a particular situation. So it basically helps a lot, and I also prefer to do meditation regularly. Just as ma'am said, you should have a good guru for that also. So my next question to you is that while starting any business or the startup, we have to face so many challenges. So what were your obstacles you faced and how you overcome those?
Um, I will not be able to name one because there are obstacles every day. Uh,
Mhm.
Honestly, I also don't know how I managed it, because all my eggs were in the same basket. So, come what may, I was just in the game. When your own skin is attached to a purpose or the kind of work that you're doing, you don't really think about, aaj kya obstacle aaya hai. You're just trying. You're in the game and you're doing things, and you're not really thinking about what obstacle came or whatever happened. You're just like in it and doing it without even realizing that it's an obstacle. You don't name it actually. I'm sure that happens to you also. When some subject has something out of syllabus one day before, you're not thinking ki, it's an obstacle in my life and how am I going to resolve it. You're just like reading through the chapters just so that you can do something well the next day. So I think um, um, I think you just have to be in the game and you just keep doing it, and the consistency is the key, is what I feel. um, Although I think there's a lot of stuff that I also have to know and understand and do, but I think doing is the only way you learn. I don't think there's any other way. You have to do it to learn, and to unlearn and to figure out that what did I do right, what did I do wrong. But unless you're not doing it, you're not going anywhere. So I think forget about the learnings, just do it is what I would say.
Yeah, okay. So I read some books that focusing on the problems create so many problems. So learn to leave them, so they will automatically get results. So likewise, it happens with you, I think so, because just giving your 100% to your work, then all the issues, all the problems definitely get resolved, right?
I also think sometimes you don't have an option, like
Hmm.
usually you are not it happens a lot of times that you are just like in the ecosystem, in the game yourself, all by yourself, and actually you don't have a lot of option but to do it. So I personally think that if you're really attached to the purpose of it, to why you are doing it, to the ultimate goal of it, you will do it, and
Right.
also I think I have a long journey from here. There are a lot more things that I have to see before I start narrating that what is it that it takes. So I'd say I'm still learning, so I don't know.
Yeah, right. Actually, it's your early age, so learning so many things is
Yeah,
obvious.
some things that probably I haven't even reflected upon. It's just
Hmm.
the way things are right now, and we're just like learning it on the process of it.
Yeah, right. So from so many time, I'm observing that you are really a good speaker as well. And I heard your TEDx talk as well. So like you were the keynote speaker at different talks. So how do you achieve these skills? Like many of the girls having, self-doubt that how I should speak or how I should say something in front of the crowd. So what do you think or what do you want to suggest here?
Like you'll ask people who know me well, they'll tell you that it's the wrong question that you asked.
Why do you
I,
think like that?
I genuinely don't think twice before saying anything. I am very, very like on the face of it. Um, um, and I don't think we've done a very big deal in life to be able to take a command on whatever we are saying. I mean, I think um, I genuinely don't have a lot of issues speaking. I think it comes to me naturally. I haven't done anything, so to say, to work on my or improvise my diction or the way I speak. If you meet me outside of this is exactly how I speak, and I'm usually talking stuff that I will probably talk to you. If we meet otherwise. So if you were to ask me, I would say just be natural, because people are smart these days. They don't want anything bookish or something out of the box. Everybody knows that everybody has issues, so you rather tell things that came handy to you when you were in a certain kind of issue, and just be very organic. And that's I can that's what I can tell you. I mean, I have been organic all this while, and speaking yes comes to me very naturally. And but do you have to become a good speaker to run a business? I don't think so. You don't have to be a good speaker to run a business. Do you have to speak well for good sale as a good salesperson? Um, it's a partial yes or a no. But I think people who don't have that kind of skill, talking is the lowest form of intellect, is what I feel. Processing things and executing things is a far more bigger skill that one can have. And this is just like, communication. So communication can be learned, but thought process is where the majority of the work should go. So if you can't speak well, don't worry about it, because uh, it's not going to really affect um, the way you do business. um, so even if you're not good with it, please don't bother about it. I can do it, I can talk about it, and I do that. But yes, if you really think that that excites you, of course it's a very layered skill that can be easily achieved. I mean, there are classes, there are institutes that teach you diction, how to talk, and all those things. So I don't think that's a very necessary skill, honestly.
Yeah, right. That means the simplicity is key to basically a good conversation,
Well,
and yeah, and be natural. So automatically your idea get delivered to the public, right? So
yeah.
that's the crucial thing. Be simple and stay confident
Also,
with
it's
yourself.
not me saying it, it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the studies that tell that your communication is 70% non-verbal. I'm forgetting whether it's 70%, 60%, but it's in that ratio. And words are just means of expression. So a lot of people, we might be unaware of it, or we are unconscious about it, but we usually communicate things by our body language, by our tone, by our vibration, and far lesser than the kind of the words that we choose. So I think it's immaterial.
Yeah, right. So don't try to get better. You are the better the way you are, right?
Oh, yeah.
So my next question is that what would you like to suggest to this new generation and for upcoming leaders to get start their own business and startups?
Startups are not glamorous. Don't do it because somebody will call you for an interview like this. That's the first thing. There'll be hard things that will keep coming to you. So don't think that you will settle at any point of time. um, I mean, we are not even an example for the settlement, but I know people, who are sort of settled in their startups and they're still hustling. So it's not something that will lead to some big settlement for you. Also, don't do it because everybody is doing around, and it's sort of becoming glamorized with all these reality shows that are coming. Do it if you genuinely have an idea that you can stand for and has some validity in the marketplace on the ground. So those are the three suggestions that I would rather give. And one more, funding is not the solution. You should be able to self-sustain. Funding will only amplify things for you. If you have a good system in place, it will amplify that. If you don't have a good system in place, it's also going to amplify that. So have a concrete system in place before you start looking out, is what I personally feel. Nothing generic there. It's just a personal opinion from my end.
Yeah, right. Means just don't run towards the glamour, right?
Oh
Just
yeah,
if you
absolutely.
have genuinely anything in your mind, then you can surely go with that.
Total.
But
This is not
rather
bad
on, it
at all.
will just, waste the money and the time of that particular person, right?
Yes.
So the last question from my side is that there are so many women who are basically housewife and they want to do something at their end, or
Yes.
they have to start their business. So what you would like to say to them?
Uh, I think, although I have not been in a place where, I've had kids, family, and, I'm not in a place where I can suggest a lot. But the other part of it is that, my mom's been involved in this business quite a bit. In fact, most of the product formation, how it needs to assemble, what blends to do, all of that, she verifies. She does like 10 iterations, 20 iterations before the final thing goes for a certification test. um, and I think, uh, she I think from her lens is probably what I can tell you, that she's somebody, I'm the elder daughter, and she's now on her own in terms of she doesn't have a lot of responsibilities because her kids are all grown up, and she's now sort of finding her space again after losing her own life to the kids. uh, and I can tell her from her space, it's if you I think it's very important that the family supports the other. I think which happened very naturally in our case. um, but I think women in general need to understand that self love is not selfish. And if that means finding their own energies, their own kick, or their own purpose in a startup, in a business, or something close to that, it's not wrong, and they should do it. And I would also take an opportunity of this platform to tell the families that don't put that pressure only on the lady of the house. Let her and support her, because most of the women are very guilty of doing something for themselves. Forget about our generation, our parents generation, or probably ladies who have kids these days. They're really guilty of doing something for themselves. So I think they really need to come out of that space and start um,
Mhm.
accepting that it is fine to do things for themselves. So I think that's one message that I would give.
Yeah, because we have audience from all the age groups. That's why I asked this question. As it is a conversation with leaders, so we have some participant with us as well. So I would like to call Siddhi to hand over this session. You can go with further.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Siddhi.
Yeah. So first of all, before moving on to my question, I would really like to comment on your performance in Shark Tank India. It was just phenomenal the way you tackled your questions and everything. I mean, it was really, really very great. So I have one question. So being a person who is, more fascinated by the startups, not just because they are glamorous, but
Mm.
because I want to do something in that area that is something which interests me. So I want to ask you, related to Namhya Foods, that there is a huge gap between actual thinking and the implementation process. So what is the main thing, or how did you tackle or cover up that gap?
I think big, but I unlike how I think, I started very small. And I'm a little finicky when it comes to things. I will not let them be out or launch them unless I'm double sure about it. So I started small. I took some patience, which is unlike me. I sort of experimented, did a pilot run for about 6 months just to understand that, where is it that I'm fitting in the market in terms of customer, target audience, and the kind of profile who will buy this product, and is there a market for these products, to just to begin with. So I think that took me like good 6 to 8 months. But once I knew that this is something that the market needs, I scaled up. So I think starting small and breaking your big thinking into small milestones is a good idea. And I genuinely don't think you should start big and do a boom, and it explodes and sometimes it falls off. So don't do that. I mean, if it will have potential, it will pick up that mileage at the right time itself. Is what I think.
Okay, thank you. I got my answer.
Yes, thank you so much, Siddhi. Now we have our next participants, Sanskar. Sanskar, you can go further. Hello, Sanskar, are you there? Okay, I think he is having some issue. Up to
Right.
that, Neha, you can go for ahead with your questions.
Yeah, sure. Actually, ma'am, my question
Thank you,
was
Mona.
that.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to. Yes.
I think
Am I audible?
Sanskar, you are having lag, I think, at your end.
Okay, let him speak his question. Neha, we'll have your question right after this. So, Sanskar, please go ahead with your
So,
question.
Hello, Sanskar. If
That's
if
okay.
you having network issue, then you can put in the chat box as well.
Yeah, I think
No,
let's have Neha's question
currently
first.
I am audible.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Siska, you can ask.
Ma'am, I want to ask one question that as it is not easy to start the startup.
I didn't get your question. You're saying is it easier now to start a startup?
Ma'am, as it is not easy to start in the initial stage to start the startup. So what is the yes? Sorry.
I
Yeah,
think
go
I
ahead, Sanskar.
um I think we can have
Did I
some.
continue?
Yes, yes.
No, ma'am. I am asking the question. 1 minute.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I want to ask the which for which you risk that all time current assets.
Okay, I think we haven't really gotten Sanskar's question, so I think we can park it for a moment. I think Neha, you can go ahead with your question. We'll have Sanskar's question probably in the comment section if
Yes,
that's.
ma'am. That was my question. That you risk all that time current question.
Sanskar, let's keep it on hold. Let's take Neha's question first. Neha, please
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So, ma'am, my question was like, as a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career? Like, have you been confronted with the gender related roadblocks in your career?
Um, I think as a woman, I started my business when I was I think 27. Um, and that's usually the time when most of the women settle. By settle, I mean they have a good job and they get married. And I took a decision which was like a little otherwise. So that's like a big barrier. I'm sure women who are hitting their 30s sort of understand the nuances of how a society runs, how a family runs. So I think that was like a bigger barrier that I had to sort of first go through. um, and startups are not a surety. Startups also mean no work life balance. So startups can also mean 16 hours of work, 14 hours of work a day. Those are not like the usual timelines, but yeah, I mean there can be things that can happen very impromptu. The website goes down at probably 11:30 in the night. What do you do? And if it's your own work, you can't just like sleep at 11:30 saying that okay, we'll figure it out in the morning. It doesn't happen like that. So I think personally, I think I went through that final understanding of and a final decision making of whether I want to settle down or I sort of want to you know take a stride and sort of get into it full time, which means that 3-4 years you're fully invested in it. So I as personally, this is what I had to go through.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I was having another question as well. That what were the mistakes you made in your journey, and how did you learn, and what the things you learned from them?
I think I had a lot of fear of starting up. I had a lot of inhibitions in terms of losing a job, losing that fixed income that I was getting. So, from that to, I kept comparing my lifestyle from when I had a job to when I had started up. So I think those are like the baggages that you have to shed off before you start a startup. And I think also the fact that initially I was very inconsistent, because 2 days if I don't get a result, I'm disheartened and I'm like मैं नहीं कर सकती. So I think I had traveled a whole journey of being assured of what I'm doing and having some self-reliance that okay, whatever I'm doing is fine and can go somewhere. So I think those I think your inhibitions are your self-created doubts. So I had to travel that journey of unlearning the kind of stuff I was used to thinking, and then sort of saying that, okay, if I'm doing something, it's not the end of life, it's not the end of my career if I don't succeed in XYZ. So I think it's a journey of fears and apprehensions and doubts on your own self when you start up. So I would suggest not to do that, and trust it for once.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Neha. Ma'am, Sarthak question was, which things motivates you to start your own startup in beginning for which you risk all your assets? How do you analyze that potential? That was his question.
Um, I think just the fact that I wanted to do it. I think I initially mentioned also that I was really interested in health foods, and I think that whole that whole thing really motivated me to do and put everything in the same basket to sort of start.
Yeah, right. So, as we are live on a YouTube, so few audience are putting their questions in live chat as well. So from that, I'm reading a question. First one is from Rutuja Bhagwat. She want to know that how you acquire your first 100 customers. As you know, people haven't accepted Ayurveda completely.
Very good question. What's the name again? Rutuja.
Rutuja Bhagwat.
Rutuja, very interesting question. Very good question, actually. I actually felt, it was like, ये तो ऐसे 1 महीने में कर दूंगी मैं, was my first thought. And it took me, I think, 3 months to reach my first 100 customers. And it was a very painful journey because we started in April, and then April lockdown was there. And I didn't know what was happening. The logistics were shut in Jammu. Our first month's run rate was 4 units a day. We were just selling four pieces a day. So, and that happened for a good 30 days. First 30 days was like that. And I felt like a loser. I felt, what am I even doing? Um, so I think the answer to this is that A, we didn't do a lot. B, um, I think it was the word of mouth. My first 100 customers came only because the product was nice, the product was strong, and people referred to each other, and that's how the sales happened. For that matter, I didn't do anything. We were just like sitting and waiting and seeing, what are the results of everybody.
Yeah, Rutuja has joined here as well. Rutuja, if you want to ask anything else, then you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hello,
Hi,
ma'am.
Pooja. Hi.
Yeah. It's great to hear from you.
Thank
So, yeah. So I'm in startups. I have a food tech startup, and the best thing about it that we just started our operation today.
All
And
the
hearing
best.
from you,
You're gonna
yeah,
make it.
thank you so much. So my question to you is that it's very difficult to acquire the first 100 customers, and you started a business or a startup in something which was not completely accepted by people, like the Ayurveda. So, like how you acquire your first 100 customers and how you make them believe in your product. So I want to hear that story.
Rita, I just answered this question actually. I don't know if you
Hmm?
missed it. I just said, like, I actually didn't do much here. I had my Amazon live and my website live. But the sad part was that, we were going through a pandemic. It was April 2020 when I started my business. And honestly, it was very hard in terms of operations logistics because we didn't know, we had just started, we didn't know how to figure it out. So those were the parameters that were really, but we hadn't done any marketing to say. So to answer your question, it was the word of mouth that made my first 100 customers. We didn't do anything in marketing. It was customer telling another friend, family, whatever, that go buy out this small brand they've just started, but the product is nice. Why don't you go and buy this? So I think that was the process for the first 100 customers for us.
Yeah, I think that's great. The best reviews you are getting from your first customers, and yeah. I also heard from your chat and pitch that the retention rate for your customer is like almost 50%. So
Yes, on the
like yeah. So like how you people manage? Like it was just only the product, or it was your empathy with the customers, or the relationship you made with the customers, or you think both were the factors?
I genuinely feel that the customer is very smart. The customer who comes to is an educated customer, has some inclination towards Ayurveda, naturopathy, yoga. Right? So these are very smart people who understand the nuances of things. So irrespective of what I say, they don't believe it, right? So it's the product, I think, that made the difference. And it's not something that I think, it's what it is, because initially we didn't have a lot of support system. It was like, we sell the product, it reaches out to you, we have all the instructions, we have the do's and the don'ts, we have the FAQs, but it's less of us interacting with the customer directly, unlike how it is right now. So I think it was the product that did the job.
Yeah, that's great. All the best to you, and hope to see you in the business world soon.
Yes, thank you, Rutuja. And as ma'am said, that consistency is really important in any business and startup. So all the best for you, Rutuja, as well. Then we have another question from audience is that Tanvi Boku is asking, you have converted the basic of Ayurvedic powder to something new. What type of obstacles did you face that time?
So it's not really, I would not say it was obstacle, but we were just thinking, why is not somebody eating a churan or a powder, as she rightly mentioned. And we just felt and understood from the market that, people don't prefer churans and powders. Also, it's not tasty to have. So can we do something that we still do the same kind of herbs and make them a little nice to have, and also make it a part of somebody's lifestyle? So tea and adjacent beverages like a latte or something like that is what we felt um, could become a game changer in Ayurveda. You make something a part of somebody's lifestyle, or something that could become a habit for somebody. A lot of people start their day with Kashmiri Kawa. A lot of people end their day with liver cleanse tea. A lot of women have periods care tea instead of green tea these days. So we saw those changes coming in people, and I think that was the reason why we did teas and blends of teas.
Yes, so right now, as you're working with tea products only, so what is your future plan? Are you planning for launching any new product?
Yeah, so I think our launch plans are more to do with the disease or the problem that we want to resolve, and less about the means that we will take. It could be a concoction, a blend, a tea, anything, everything. But right now, I think we want to really focus on the disease or the issue that we are resolving. Irrespective of what mode of blend we take.
Yes, right. As due to time constraint, we can move towards the vote of thanks, as there are many questions, but you can DM on LinkedIn to the ma'am, so she will definitely answers to your question, guys. So yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your overall time, and all the information that is delivered by you today will definitely create a great impact on these newcomers in the business domain as well, and also the way you are speaking also itself motivates too many people in future, obviously. So thanks a lot for your time
Thank you for
and
calling.
overall helping us. Yeah, ma'am. And all the very best from Diva Club for your future journey. And I hope we will meet soon for next events as well. Thank you so much.
Everyone. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, and I would like to thank whole Diva team for giving me this pleasure to be the anchor of this event, and as well as thank you so much for dear participants and all the audience who are attending these sessions right now. Thank you so much for your presence, and thanks to technical team for managing this wonderful webinar on the occasion of this Women's Day Special Week celebration. Thank you so much. Have a good day.